I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Good afternoon to you and yours. It is the Bottom Line on 100.7 The Score, 107thescore.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Jeff McGuire filling in for Joyce Woodman again, because that's what we do on this program. Joined alongside the one and only Josh Falpa, who's in for Chris Sneed today, and across the way, slide and slides, pushing buttons for us on the program is Clint, the Viking Scott. Gentlemen, happy Thursday. How's it going? Good day, bad day, up day, down day?
Pretty neutral day for me, I guess.
Neutral
a lot
day.
of what I'm doing is numbers, which is, it's just copying and pasting.
Is it data entry numbers or is it... Oh, there is very little when it comes to computers I hate more than just data entry.
Sure.
Like, research doesn't bother me because I can use that to learn something. Whatever I'm researching, right? Writing stories for the website, I'm putting an opinion out there and putting thoughts together. Straight point-to-point data entry. I would quit if that was my job. I would quit. If that was my whole job, I would go flip burgers at McDonald's.
It is a fairly significant part of my job.
Pass.
Yeah.
Clint, are you doing better stuff today than data entry?
Yes, because I'm not doing
Data entry.
Yeah.
It is. It's amazing to me the people that can do it. I am not one of those people.
I mean, I can do it. I don't want to do it.
I'm kidding. I'm sure Clint.
Clint could do a lot of things. But
it's not a difficult part of my job. It's just
but it
fairly
is,
significant.
and this is why I will say it is difficult, because even if you get into a rhythm of it, and you're like, cool, clickety click, clickety click, clickety click, you're going right. Someone's gonna walk in and go, "So Josh, what are you doing today?" And you're like, "I was in a rhythm, man. Now I gotta get the rhythm going again."
Yeah, I get that. That's fair.
So, Josh, it's been a busy week up here in the world of sports. And I say that because we've had the unofficial start for the Texas Tech football season in Big 12 Media Days. And Texas Tech went the first day, so our official start got started Tuesday. We have reacted, we have listened to, we have discussed, and we will do some more. Is there anything that jumped out to you from everything you have seen us post online and everything you have seen on your own of this was the big story from Big 12 Media Days?
I don't think in particular I'd like something that happened at Big 12 Media Days, but I did get the thought together that I think we knew this, but in my head it just clicked that the defense is what is going to have to improve this year. And the reason that clicked is because obviously we want the offense and the defense to both do better. But the offense didn't do bad last year. It's the defense that had, finished second to last in the conference and many other things. So it just clicked in my head yesterday that I was like, you kind of, the wrong way to phrase this, but you kind of hit a point of diminishing returns with the offense. The defense is really where the improvement is going to come. And with the interviews by, not Bailey, but Lee Hunter, also great bit, calls himself the fat Steph Curry, is basketball. And I thought that was funny. So there's that. But him talking through the defense, Baron Morton and Jacob Rodriguez talking about chemistry and how the team fits together, how you get guys who have basically been playing together for 3 months and leading them into a season. I did think that was interesting, and I'd like to see the defense is what I'm going to be paying attention to this year as much as I am excited to see what Caleb Douglas does.
The defense has a lot of room to improve. There's no argument for that. They weren't just like second last in the Big 12. They were way down there in all of college football as well, which is one reason that you got the new defensive coordinator that you got. One of the reasons that you got a new offensive coordinator is because your former offensive coordinator is now a head coach. Yep. So one got promoted, one got removed.
Which to say that there were many people not super happy with him as offensive coordinator just by the end of the season, just generally. Mm-hmm. So
there are, I am not one of them. But there are portions of our fan base, and I'm not pointing anybody out specifically. I want to make this clear.
I am.
If you don't score 50 points every game.
Yeah, I get that.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
And I am of the opinion, I do not care if Texas Tech never throws the football again and only wins every game by 1 point. Because the following two things just happened. You won every game, which means you're winning a national championship.
Sure.
Like, that's how that works.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it looks like if you're winning.
It's the Dom Toretto line. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
Everything after the inch is for ego. And I don't need an ego on offense. Sure. Now, I will also say that when Joey McGuire brought in his new offensive coordinator, he said, listen, there's one thing that Texas Tech fans know around here, and it's offense. So you better, points matter out here. And they do. Having an offense that can be explosive and unpredictable, and an offense you can rely on. And I think that's the thing that if we were to boil down everybody's real frustrations, you would have sections of time for the offense where it felt like they were firing on 12 cylinders in a V8 engine, which is physically impossible. They were running that well. And then it felt like that they were having to push start a go-kart.
Yeah.
And there was nothing different that the defense was doing necessarily. There was nothing different that the offense was doing necessarily. It would work, and then it would disappear.
Seemingly randomly, too, because in the Colorado game in particular, you start off really well and then just disappear. The offense, I mean, it just, yeah. The Colorado game is so interesting to me, though, looking back at it. Because, yes, you started off with a 13 point lead? 10-point lead. Touchdown, 2 field goals.
Yeah, okay, so 13-point lead. And you're like, hey, that's a huge lead. It wasn't. I mean, it was a 13-point lead, but it should have been 21. You couldn't get it into the end zone the other 2 times.
Which was a part of the frustration that a lot of the... We say Tech is one of the more efficient offenses in points scored and stuff, mm-hmm. but it was a lot of 3 points instead of, turning it into 7.
Now, I will say I like the idea of putting points on the board.
Yeah.
No matter if it's a 3 or a 6 with an extra point to follow. Because no matter what, that puts pressure on the other team to keep up. Now, if you're kicking threes and they're scoring touchdowns, that math doesn't math very well. And I totally get that touchdowns are better. But 3 points to me is still better than no points. And I don't want to rely on a kicker to try to win you a football game. But having a kicker that you can rely on to keep you in games, to keep pressure on, to have the other guys have to work just a little bit harder, push a little bit more to try to not make a mistake, that is an asset that you can have. We'll get more into Big 12 Media Days. We'll also hit you with the headlines. We've got some Tech baseball conversation on the way because Texas Tech baseball got a new recruit. We'll have Kaylee's Dailies, headlines, Tell Me I'm Wrong, Jamie's Question of the Day, and your Fact of the Day. In other words, it's the bottom line on 100.7 The Score, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
It is the bottom line, 100.7 The Score, 107thescore.com, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Jeff in for Choice, Josh in for Chris, and Clint. Time for Kaylee's Dailies. caw, gentlemen. From Kaylee, we had to do at least one spider daily while Captain Sneeroo is out. I am reading this verbatim, Chris, in case you're listening. So I present the American ogre-faced spider. The American ogre-faced spider are a nocturnal spider species that is found in deep southeast United States like Florida and Alabama. Although sightings in Georgia and Mississippi and Texas have been recorded as well. The American ogre-faced spiders get their name due to their 2 large front-facing eyes that outshine their other 8 eyes. This spider total length ranges from 10 to 17 millimeters. And
What is this, a European spider?
No.
Millimeters.
This is what
That means nothing to me.
I get that. I understand. But this is what she wrote, and I'm not doing math on the air. And they resemble a stick-like appearance with thin brown legs and a body. These spiders naturally camouflage during the day, then at night hunt for prey like flying insects. The American ogre-faced spider utilize a unique hunting tactic where they spin a net with their web and deploy it and from trees to catch flying prey. Man, I messed that up at the end. The American ogre-faced spider.
Catch a flying prey and put it in your pocket. Oh, sorry.
I don't.
That one I
even
don't
know
catch. Like I got the Ira. I got that one.
I think it's just a children's song of Catch a Falling Star and put it in your pocket.
Catch a
save
Falling
it for
Star.
a rainy
Okay.
day.
See, I know when you wish
Featured
upon a falling
on
star.
popular live-action Disney movie. Oh, I already forgot the title. Anne Hathaway, one of her first ones, where she's
Princess Diary.
No.
of Princess of Geneva. It's like a
Oh yeah, a made-up place that should really be real.
hey.
Should
Yeah.
really be real. It should really be
As
real.
a kid, I thought it was real when I saw that movie. I was like, oh, Geneva. I'd go there. Sure, it looks great.
Well, sure, I'd go to Geneva, but that would just be for the conventions, really.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's the only way I can get a dad joke inappropriately. This off the 8 Scoring Center chat line. Utah head coach was trying to talk up his offensive line, saying the whole front will be drafted, thinking who was distracting from the lack of skill players. Utah Utes are getting wake-up call signs again this year. Chuck Hines is promoting Utes as contenders.
To be fair.
To be fair.
Shout out Letterkenny. To be fair, that offensive line for Utah is probably the best in the not probably coming into the year, unless they have a just fall on their face year. That's the best offensive line in the Big 12, and they do have a couple of guys who might not just be drafted, but could both go in the first round. To the Texter's point, I think that they had a really good offensive line last year.
Yes.
And I thought they had a really good defensive line last year, and I think they upgraded the quarterback spot with Devin Dampier, but
That'd be
I don't
fair.
know how much. Like, I don't know if they upgraded it 5 more wins in the Big 12 championship conversation. I do think they'll be better, but
Also, secretly-
Utah's is like the. I don't know if it's just, and I get Whittingham's been doing it forever. I think obviously he's a really, really good coach. Like I said, I do think they'll be better, but Utah's turned into like one of the top 3 betting favorites and is a popular pick to be the Big 12's representative in the playoff. And I just do not see it.
I don't see that. I
I
mean,
just
I can
don't
see them
see
being
it.
improved. I can see them being better. I can see them doing a lot of things in a different way than they have. But I'll also say they need to show me something before I go that far. And this thought is very true off the H. Center chat line, though, and give them credit for that. When you have a good offensive line, your skill players can be average and still put up great numbers. This is very true. But they have to at least be average.
Right. Or not. Utah, here's what I have questions with Utah, is they've done so well with quarterbacks not being erratic, and they brought in one of the most erratic passers in the NCAA last year, and that was at New Mexico, not even playing against better defenses. So unless they're strictly going, hey, we're really gonna run you, because he's an electric. Dampier's an electric quarterback when he gets into the open field, and I'm not saying he's not good at running the ball, but if you can make him one-dimensional, or if he is just one-dimensional, that seems like something that doesn't always go well in the Big 12 from what defenses have turned into. So if you make him throw the ball, one, who's catching it for him? Because I don't trust their receivers right now. Running backs, they brought in a young guy that they're really excited about from Washington State, but he's unproven. And so I think that there is something to will that hold their offense back again? Will the skill guys hold their offense back?
And, I mean, the only really way to find this out is to wait a few weeks as we get into college football season and see it all go through. That is definitely a storyline to watch in the Big 12. Although, with Big 12 Media Days wrapping up, it was interesting how different coaches talked about the recruiting process and the portal process and NIL and weaved and bobbed through that conversation. And while I don't think it was the topic like I thought it was going to be at Big 12 Media Days, it definitely got brought up. But it was interesting to me, the coaches who had things to say about it and the coaches who didn't have things to say about it. And the coaches that didn't really just bring up the subject, I guess would be whatever, or really engage in the subject, were the ones that aren't having the donors donating. Because there's a couple of programs in the Big 12 that have got backers doing things.
Right.
It's not just Texas Tech. Now, nobody's doing it like Texas Tech is, but nobody in the country really is doing it like Texas Tech is. And whether it's good or bad for college football is yet to be determined. There's a really good article on ESPN that we talked about yesterday, where everyone should be rooting for Texas Tech is what the title is, which my first thought was I already was. Thanks. But it's talking about how this is giving some schools an opportunity that didn't have one before. This is spreading out the talent a little bit, so it's not just all centered in Tuscaloosa or in Georgia or at Texas or, insert school here. Schools like Texas Tech and Syracuse and, insert whoever you're talking about who's gotten some of these five-star athletes recruited and transferred in because they're using that 20.5. Whether that's good for college football, I think we're yet to be determined. But we're in it, and that's what we're dealing with. And you can either play by the rules that are set, in this case, no rules, or you can thumb your nose at it and yell at clouds for people who are not breaking any rules. If there is no speed limit, you can't get pulled over for speeding. If you want to put a speed limit in, then you can complain about people driving too fast, if they are, in fact, speeding.
Yeah, you can't, following the same premise, you can't, after the fact, get in trouble for breaking the speed limit. Yeah,
I did thoroughly enjoy let's see what you do with recruiting after the settlement and revenue sharing comes into place. And then the first big wave you make is after getting
Class.
2 back-to-back days with 4 stars, getting your best recruit that you've had committed and quote-unquote stole him away from Texas. And then it turned into, well, let's see what you do whenever you use up all the revenue share on one guy. It's just like, okay.
And they didn't.
No, they didn't.
They
didn't. But that's what people that are screaming at clouds are screaming.
Yeah, and
or Deloitte's gonna crash down on these guys because they're doing something wrong.
Listen, money has been in college athletics forever. You're a fool if you think that it was clean before. Did Nick Saban have an inherent advantage that he could walk into a recruit's house, clink his multiple national championship rings at a recruit, and say, you want to win some of these? Clink, clink. Come to Alabama. That was a huge benefit. He's not around anymore. While there are still a few coaches that can do that type of recruiting, for everybody else, you recruit with what you got. And if you've got playing time, you recruit playing time. If you've got facilities, you recruit facilities. And if you've got the cash-a-lean, you recruit the cash-a-lean.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, thank you, sir. Enjoy the remainder of your day, and good luck punching numbers. Jamie Litt on the way in on the bottom line. DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.
bringing you the truth or something like the truth. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
It is the Bottom Line. 100.7 The Score, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Jeff in for Choice, sitting alongside now the one and only Jamie Lint and Clint Scott, sliding slides, pushing buttons for us on the program. And I feel like I can ask this question to you guys, because I think you guys know what this question means. And that question is if you were a superstar in Major League Baseball, would you participate in the Home Run Derby? If asked, I should say.
There are too many cases of guys that go and perform well and then struggle afterwards to just ignore that. But I do feel like there's a bit of an obligation to at least do it one time. So I think the first time you're obligated to say yes. I think after that you're allowed to say no.
Would you say yes? Just the first time?
The first time, yes.
Okay. I feel like Clint would be if you ask, I will come.
Dude, I'd say yes right now, and I wouldn't get a single one over the wall.
Yeah,
Kidding me?
Yeah.
There's...
Do I get credit if it gets out of the infield? If it hits the grass?
Yeah. If I just make contact, does it account for me?
There is an element of it. I mean, let's be honest. When you roll back the home run, the reason I bring this up is the A's player agreed to be in it, and I like All-Star Game festivities. I like All-Star games in general. I don't need them to be real. I need them to be all-stars, and I need good players performing on a level, playing in an exhibition, having a good time, because that's what it's for. I don't need it settling World Series, home field advantage.
Bring it back.
No, I don't need it settling, like I like what the NHL has done, where they've got, it's no longer like East-West, it's the countries, and then they do 3-on-3 tournaments, so it's not as many players. Like, you can trick it up a little and have fun. I have no problem with the Pro Bowl. As dumb as the Pro Bowl is, with a wide receiver being your offensive lineman and your offensive lineman going out for a pass in the Pro Bowl, it's supposed to be fun. Stop taking fun away from sports. I am always for more fun to be put into sports, whatever the case may be. How did the Home Run Derby start? When you roll the time back, it was batting practice. And you get a bunch of guys in batting practice going, hey, how many think you can hit out?
There used to be TV shows in the 70s. And that would, like, a one-on-one competition. And I stumbled across them somehow at some point in my youth, and I used to love watching them. Obviously, this is when they were 20 years old or 15 years old. I can't remember, but I used to love watching them, to see the old guys, to see what they were like.
Yeah.
As far as players, they were, felt like they were having a good time and relaxing and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the way it feels now. I don't want the game to be, a complete goof off, though.
And baseball is really the only one that's remotely close to what it is day in day. And
yes.
I understand why. I mean, football. I like this version of the NFL's Pro Bowl way more than whatever that last 10-year transition was when it was a joke.
Yeah,
because I see what you're saying. Let them have fun. I don't think they were really having fun. That's why you're just having people like, yeah, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And then hockey again, physical. I know I'm not a hockey guy, but this is what Gus and I were talking about. They've done some different things with that. The NBA is the biggest joke out of all of them. You don't watch the All-Star game. You watch the dunk contest. And even then, right now, you're watching to see if Mac McClung wins 4 in a row. And before that, that's been watered down. And part of it is, this is where I give like the Home Run Derby credit and MLB guys credit, because a lot of the stars will at least do it once. And that just does not happen with the dunk contest.
No.
Right.
And some of it is...
It's almost like you you're admitting you're a lesser player if you compete in the dunk contest.
And that's part of the problem is the guys we actually want to see in the dunk contest don't do it.
Yeah.
The aura of it...
Outside of Mac McClung. I want to see him in every single
different.
year.
Yeah, that's different.
And he's not even in the league.
That's like his
He is for that
appearance. He's
week.
like, it's his annual 10-day contract.
Yeah.
The element of the dunk contest that they got away from is it when it was special, it was guys that were doing it in the game, then just also did it in the dunk contest. And that's where you got the tomahawk jam. That's when you got the jumping from the free throw line with Jordan the first time. That's when you got the Vince Carter extravaganza that he was.
You're working too hard, Jeff. It's superstars were dunking. That's what
Right,
it
but
was.
they were
they were the
also-
best ones, and they were superstars.
They were also doing it in the game too.
Yeah. Now I flip on the dunk contest. I'm like, I've never heard of this guy before. Besides Mac McClung.
Yeah.
I'm like, who does he play for? Yeah.
It's not even like the beloved role players doing it.
Yeah.
And granted, obviously those guys are still in a very small percentage athletic enough to be in the NBA, but as big of a superstar league as the NBA is, that is not the case when it comes to their All-Star weekend.
Yep.
But we're not fixing the dunk contest today. That's a conversation for, when that comes around in the calendar.
I'm not leaving this seat until the dunk contest is fixed.
The
And if you want to watch an NBA All-Star game, just go watch a local AAU basketball tournament. That's all it is.
same thing.
That's the NBA All-Star weekend.
Okay.
Do they have
Everybody
people
just-
that like lay down and transition
Yeah,
defensively
all they
too?
want is oohs and ahs, and there's not a whole lot of passing going on, and it's it's 1-on-1 with 10 people on the court.
That's also Choice Woodman in pickup basketball. So.
True story. We have seen that in person. I'm kind of in the Clint category of if they ask, I will come. And even if I'm embarrassing myself and not getting contact on 10 pitches and walking away with my head down, it's fun. And
I'll be honest, if I was a Major League Baseball player, though, I would be asking them if I could go.
even if you were just there for the home run derby.
Even if I was just the worst liability relief pitcher, too, I would go, hey, can I be in the home run derby?
You know what? I
You
would
haven't
sign
had
up
an
for that.
at-bat in the majors yet. Yeah.
What
that
if
could be
you
fun.
were a relief pitcher that couldn't stop giving up home runs, and you said, "Hey, can I pitch in the home run derby?" Would you do that, Clint?
Look, I'm perfect for
I'm
it.
perfect for that.
Look, I've been training my whole life for this.
We don't need Robinson Cano's non-English speaking dad to do it. I got this.
I thought you were going the other way. Like, look, I know I haven't hit a home run, but I've seen so many hit off.
Yeah,
I know where the
it
ball
takes.
needs to go.
Yeah, I know how they do it.
I've
yeah.
thrown so many interceptions. I think I know what I'm doing at safety. Thanks.
I would also be in favor of having a pitcher's bracket. Like the pitchers who can hit, that get them a chance to get in the All-Star game and get some at-bats. I think that could be fun.
I think that could be fun, and I think every major league team would be like, "Nope,
Yo,
not
I'm
my
not
guy.
letting
My
guy
guy's
out
not
there.
doing
Sure.
that." Yep.
And there's pluses and minuses for all of that. You don't want to see Jacob deGrom go out there and blow out his arm in the All-Star game. Totally agree. You don't want to see, insert whoever you want to discuss here go out and blow their arm up or completely kill their swing in an All-Star event. But I want these guys to have a good time. And I do think in baseball they have a good time.
I think the key here is that Clint, in every at bat in the regular season, would be swinging for the fences.
So it wouldn't
So
mess
it's
up
not
his
going to
swing.
change his swing.
Yeah, and I would just yell, it's analytics.
It's three true outcomes. It's the bottom line here. On the way, we will ask a Texas Tech football question. And I'm going to have you pull out your crystal balls, guys. So just know that that's coming next here on the bottom line at 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the truth, or something like the truth. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
It is the bottom line on 100.7 The Score, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T. Nope, 100.7 The Score mobile app. It's two different things. I mean, you can download the Double T 97.3 mobile app. Can you still get to both? Hang on. That's an
Yes.
interesting question.
Yes, you can.
You can still get to both on the one. So there you go.
Yep, you can.
You can. You can get to both from Double T if you want to. But, get both apps. It makes it easier to get to the chat line, which you can post on and share your thoughts on this question. I am giving every single one of you a crystal ball. and you are going to peer into the future at any Saturday for the Red Raider football team.
How much does it cost if I accidentally drop it? Just asking.
It's kind of like the Infinity Stone from Guardians of the Galaxy. If you drop it, it's not going to break, so you can pick it back up again and look cool. Didn't know I was getting a Guardian of the Galaxy reference in today. Thanks, Clint. But you only get to use it once to look at one specific game. And that game, we're going to assume is a win for the purposes of this conversation.
Oh, that makes it no fun.
Well, we can assume, like, you're looking to see if you win this game.
Because I was going to answer Kent State. If you lose, we'll know you're going to go 0-12.
0-12. Let's say you're hoping for a win in said game.
Let them play out the rest of the season, Jamie. Come on.
To determine what you think Texas Tech's final record will be. Now, this is not saying that you win this game and you run the table, and you don't get to see what your record is around that game. You just get to basically see the final score from that game. What game are you picking on the Texas Tech schedule? Either home or away, doesn't matter. I would prefer them to be conference games, but if you picked Oregon State, I'd be okay with that too. Which game are you picking, and what would the outcome be if it's a win that you think their record would be?
So it has to be a record I'm giving you, because I'm going to tell you that I think if you beat Arizona State on the road, that I think...
You're in the Big 12 championship game?
Yes.
I'll accept that, because that's either... I am assuming that the Big 12 championship game is going to be two teams that have one loss or less each.
But now I'm thinking to myself, do I want to change that to Kansas State? Which one do I think is going to be more difficult? I'm changing it to Kansas State. If you beat Kansas State in Manhattan, I think you're going to be in the Big 12 championship game. I think you will have 2 or less losses, and you will be in the Big 12 championship game.
Okay.
And it can be any game on the schedule.
Any game on the schedule.
All right, when you win the Big
12
championship game,
that
I
is
think
not
you'll
on
be
the
in
schedule.
College football playoff.
The last
it
game
is on my schedule.
on
I've
the
got a
Texas
book.
Tech's website.
I have tickets to Arlington
West
already.
Virginia
I have a
is the last
hotel
game on the
booked, Jeff.
schedule.
It's my crystal ball. You already gave it to me. I can do what I want with
I
it.
bet you already dropped it.
Oh, my bad. Hey, Jeff said I could just pick it back up and
You
still
can
look
just
cool,
pick it back
which is
up.
the first time
But
I've ever looked cool in my life.
On
so.
the Texas Tech website, the last game on the schedule is West Virginia.
Brandon beat you to it, Clint. He already said it.
Dang it. Attaboy, Brandon. That's right. We find those loopholes here on the bottom line. No, I'm going to go Kansas State. I think your 3 most difficult games this year, it would make sense. They're all on the road. And if I put them in ascending order, I would go at Utah, I'd go at Arizona State, and I'd go at Kansas State. And it's a lot closer to me to pick between Kansas State and Arizona State than it is between Utah in there. But I do think that game's going to be a tough one, especially with it being the first Big 12 game of the season and a big ramp up from, or it better be a big ramp up from Pine Bluff, Kent State, and Oregon State. But Kansas State, late in the season, if you win that game, I don't see how you don't have at least 10 wins. And 10-2 doesn't let's just say you did drop Utah and Arizona State. 10-2 doesn't necessarily confirm you're in Arlington, because we've talked about this. I think 10-2
could have you one game out.
Well, could have you in a tie. I think that's more likely to me, is you're in like a situation you had last year where you have 2 or 3 schools with the same record and there's a tiebreaker. But if one of those is over Kansas State, which very well could be in that conversation, then you'd have the tiebreaker over them. So I would say if you beat Kansas State on the road, you have at least 10 wins.
Kansas State is my second choice for this answer. And it's a really good answer, and it took me a little bit to come off of Kansas State being my answer because, I make no secret. I've already got that marked down as loss and will forever until Texas Tech does a run on the Wildcats like they've done on you recently, which is why I'm picking Arizona State. Because if you get a win in that game, and I do think it's Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Arizona State fighting for the top of the league right now, that means that I think you will be in Arlington no matter what happens with Kansas State. That getting a win there on the road in Tempe against the Big 12 champs I don't want to say eliminates the possibility of, but at that point, it's let the horses run for me. It's we're going to Arlington, and it is time to start getting the bandwagon fans buckled up because we got a hell of a season going on.
So, Clint, if we said, Jeff, win two of those three games that Clint mentioned, would you say you're in Arlington?
Yes.
Yes, I do,
Yeah.
because I think you're going to have two big tiebreakers. And
So you got to get two of those three.
Two of those three, yeah. Assuming that you don't stumble and everybody else doesn't. I mean, nothing is locked in, obviously. But if you win two of those three, I really, really like your chances of playing in Arlington.
if you win two of those three games and it's a tiebreaker the other way and you're not in Arlington, we're sitting somewhere on the schedule going, how did you lose that game?
To
Oklahoma State.
Or, like, how did you lose to this version of BYU? Or how could you not focus in the last week in Morgantown
and drop one
and get beat by a 5-6 Rich Rod team?
not 5-6 anymore.
Ugh.
The good news in that, who are the two teams that you've had those type of games with?
Baylor and TCU last year.
They are not on the schedule this year.
But that's not good, though.
I didn't say it was
would rather have
good.
them
Yeah.
both on.
I'm trying to find a silver lining in not facing anybody in the state of Texas.
But
okay?
that's something
Other
with,
than
like,
Houston.
you know, if you do slip up where you don't have a control your own destiny, because, Jeff, I'll disagree just a little bit, because I think you said Tech, Arizona State, and Kansas State between those three. Baylor's in that mix just as much. Iowa State, for me, maybe not, I don't think everybody else, but Iowa State, for me, is in that mix. I mean, if they beat Kansas State week 1, their very first game, in Dublin, Ireland, the Cyclones and the Wildcats, I mean, they're going to be in that mix again, and now they have a quarterback and a team that knows what it takes to get to Arlington. So I think that there are a lot of teams in the Big 12 that are aspiring and dreaming of the same things you are and have a legitimate shot to do that. And you don't have, if you do slip up, you don't have the control your own destiny with Baylor not on the schedule.
Right.
For better or worse.
Although I do think you do I mean, obviously everybody controls their own destiny right now because the season hasn't started. But
Yes.
that's by definition of.
Okay, well, but that's not necessarily true, I guess, because, like, if everybody just won all of their games,
Well, that is physically impossible.
but
It is
half of the
physically impossible
teams,
for everybody
half
to
of
win
the
their
teams
games.
in the Big 12 were undefeated in conference play.
That's not true. That's why we have 3-team tiebreakers.
Yeah.
That's why the ACC has 3-team tiebreakers.
Not everybody can go undefeated.
No,
No,
they
but
cannot,
you can
'cause
have
somebody
you
has
can
to
have
lose.
more than 2 go undefeated.
You
Yes.
can have more than 2
Yes.
go undefeated, right? And I mean, it could happen. I haven't broken down all the Big 12 schedules to see how that would happen. But obviously, Tech and Kansas State eliminate
I would
one.
suggest you not take the time to do that.
That would be a lot. Yeah, the matrix of that would be huge to see how many different perfect seasons could go through and have somebody not make the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
But if you run the table, I'll take your chances at that point.
Yes. Yes.
And if you run the table and there's two others that run the table and you're the one left out, and the Big 12 doesn't get 3 teams
In the playoff.
college football playoff, that will start a dumpster fire in college football that I would be here for.
Here you go. Texas Tech, Baylor, and Iowa State could all go undefeated and force a coin flip because they don't have a triangle of playing each other.
Yeah, that's crazy. That was quick work there, Clint.
Well, I just had to look at the favorites, and I was like, I don't think Baylor plays Iowa State. I know you don't play Iowa State.
So what's your game? What's the game you look at if you win that game? Texas Tech is playing in Arlington. Let us know on the Yates Flooring Center chat line on the 100.7 The Score mobile app or on DoubleTSportsNetwork.com. You can also give us a call on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. Jamie's question of the day on the way next.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
It is The Bottom Line, halfway through the program here on 100.7 The Score, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Jeff in for Choice sitting alongside Jamie Lint and Clint Scott across the way, and it is time for Jamie's question of the day.
Time now for Jamie's question of the day on 100.7 The Score. Brought to you by someone not named Jamie and presented by Connecticut of West Texas. Life's hard, your water shouldn't be.
We're going to do a deeper dive into this subject later. But in a parallel thought to that topic, something that kind of struck me a little bit as we've wrapped up Big 12 Media Days is, was it kind of a dud for Media Days? Like, you got to hear from all the coaches, but it wasn't you didn't have the Texas and Oklahoma leaving conversation that dominated everything. You didn't have the Big 12 is expanding and the initial open for business and getting a new TV contract done. Obviously, that's all been done before. You didn't get a earth-shaking story coming out of Big 12 Media Days, even not necessarily related to, because, you know, as we were wrapping up for SEC Media Days is when we heard that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving, because A&M kind of leaked it out. It was back in Arlington, which I think fits better for the conference than Las Vegas, so that's a positive side.
Boo.
All the coaches were
Send
there.
Jamie to Vegas.
All the coaches were there. I thought all of the player interviews across every school that I saw were done well, that the broadcast of it was good, but it was just kind of a scoop of vanilla ice cream. You didn't get a lot of flash out of this Big 12 Media Days. Was it kind of a dud?
I think I enjoyed it more than normal, besides because of the Las Vegas thing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it more because I felt like Texas Tech was a bigger topic than normal, a bigger deal than normal. There so many things that were said. I mean, the biggest conversation to me was about, pay for play spending, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not that's something I enjoy or not, you felt like everything that was being said, it either was affected by what Texas Tech has done or it was pointed at Texas Tech. That made it entertaining to me.
Okay.
But I get where you're coming from with, like, there was no big breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair to say.
Don't you have to play that backwards since there wasn't the breaking news?
I'm afraid if we play it backwards, it'll give us like a demonic message we never knew was there.
And it's well, let me get Clint's answer. Clint needs a chance to answer before I dive down the rabbit hole.
I don't disagree with the reasons why you said it was a dud, because none of those things happened. That's why I don't think it was a dud, because I'm tired of having to have those things at Big 12 freaking Media Days. It was nice to just have the conference.
Just have a Media Day.
It's not like you're in like the best spot. It's not like you're the greatest conference in the world right now. You're still chasing the Big Ten. You're still chasing the SEC. There's certainly some things up in the air. And some of those things, again, your mark addressed with the CFP format. But honestly, it was just nice to be able to focus in on the football portion this season and not be lamenting these two massive brands leaving your conference, or we're having to add who, or we're having to do what with media rights, or having to stress we've always been greater than 12. It was really enjoyable to just see some of the personalities of the coaches and not really focus in on some of the outside looming bigger issues with the conference, because that's what Big 12 Media Days is supposed to be. It's supposed to be about the individual teams and not like, are we fighting for our lives this year? So were you label that as a dud for that reason? I was like, I really enjoyed this Big 12 Media Days because of it.
Being a dud doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't get the, and this is why I'm saying it was a dud, not because of all of those exterior factors, but I'm not coming out of Big 12 Media Days with a sense of I don't want to say united Big 12, but it's not a go Big 12 type feeling coming out. Like, the Big 12 is coming, get ready. And I've had that feeling in the past.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's united. I think people are unhappy with the Red Raiders.
They'll like us when we win at all this year.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
It seemed like the only one that truly complimented it was Dion, and even then in the back end, he was like, "Send me some of that money."
Yeah, sure. Yeah, send a Brinks truck my way. I've had that feeling though the last couple of years where it was a let's go get him as the conference. And I've said a couple of times, more than a couple of times, that while the Big 12 isn't as good as it used to be with Texas and Oklahoma in it, I do really feel like it's a stronger league together because it's all 16 teams pulling on the rope together in the same direction. And this is the first time.
It's also entertaining right now.
It is. And even when all 16 teams last year, I thought it was entertaining.
Yes.
That the play on the field, I think, has still been entertaining, and I think it still will be entertaining. But coming out of Big 12 Media Days the last 2 years, it's we are all pulling on this rope together, and we're going to make it. This is the first time I felt like there's 4 different ropes that are being tugged, if that makes sense.
That's why I like it. Mm-hmm. I don't. That goes back into we all have to be pulling on the same rope, because if we don't, we're going to be like the Pac-12. It's nice to be like, hey, we don't have to all be going in the same direction. We can even dislike each other. Hey, how about that? We can make each other uncomfortable in the conference and start that now instead of we have to all be friends. We all have to be on the same page right now. And then we can get to some of that when we see you on a Saturday later in the fall. Yeah. I'm in. I mean, if you're not doing that, in this case, it means you're in a good spot.
It's good to know Clint thinks having friends is overrated.
Yeah. I've really turned into a hermit and a shut-in.
Funny, I didn't see you at the last hermit meeting.
No one did.
But
yeah.
It was nice not to have the drama. I will say that. And of all those other things. But I'm not getting a warm, fuzzy feeling after Big 12 Media Days like I have in the past few years. As a Red Raider, I'm excited for the football season coming up. As a Big 12 kind of fan, because my team plays in the Big 12, I'm like, okay. Because we're about to get the pep rally that is the SEC Media Days. We're about to get the Ego Fest that is Big 10 Media Days.
You think the Big 12 teams didn't like what Texas Tech did. Wait till these SEC teams.
Right, but they're all going to be united against us in this conversation.
No question.
If I could, I'm usually against this. I hate when, beat writers for specific schools will go to, like, even when it's like not their day, and will ask specifically questions to coaches that don't pertain to their team at all, because you can always see it annoys them and you never get a good answer. If we could send someone to the SEC this year to do that, I would be in favor of it.
Yeah. So like the guy yesterday for local website that asked Deion Sanders, that's where the conversation came up. His quote about Joey McGuire was, what do you think about what Coach McGuire and the Red Raiders have done this offseason?
Mm-hmm. Like last year, it annoyed me to no end, whoever the Colorado beat writer was that was taking up a question every single session, asking, what do you think about Deion in Colorado? What do you think about what he's doing over there in Colorado?
I think that was actually his voice, too.
That's how I heard it.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. It almost went into, he started talking every time, and slowly it just shifted to Charlie Brown adults.
Yeah, that was done with the trumpet and a muffler. The little suction cup thing on the end of it.
That makes sense.
It was. Oh. It's
not a real muffler.
No. Well, it is a real, like, by definition, it is. It's the
trumpet muffler.
The trumpet muffler. Not like a car muffler.
Not like from underneath Clint's truck.
No. Like when I found
that was a great impression of that. I'm patting myself on the back of it.
That was fantastic.
Like when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's cool. Now I kind of want to learn how to play trumpet to do that with. But then, I decided that would be dumb.
Then you'd be tooting your own horn, Jeff.
Exactly, and that's not who I am.
This has been the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score. Go to 100-7thescore.com for more from the Double T Sports Network.